Before humans ever painted a cave wall, they painted themselves. Long before mirrors, fashion, or written symbols existed, ancient people crushed red rocks into powder, burned wood into charcoal, ground white clay, and mixed these pigments with animal fat or water. Then they carefully spread those colors across their faces, hands, arms, and entire bodies. It took time, effort, and valuable resources, things no one wasted in a world where survival demanded constant work. So why did they do it? The answer isn't as simple as decoration. Body painting was one of humanity's earliest languages, spoken without a single word. The oldest evidence reaches back hundreds of thousands of years. Archaeologists have discovered pieces of red ochre at sites occupied by early humans in Africa, some dating to nearly 300,000 years ago. At first glance, ochre looks like an ordinary reddish rock, but when scraped or ground into powder, it produces a rich pigment that clings remarkably well to skin. Ancient people didn't collect it by accident. Many pieces show deliberate scraping, grinding, and polishing, proving someone intentionally processed the mineral. In some places, people even traveled long distances to obtain high-quality ochre despite suitable stone being available much closer to home. That tells us something important. The color itself mattered, but why? One possibility is surprisingly practical. Life outdoors exposed ancient humans to relentless sunlight, biting insects, and harsh weather. Modern research has shown that certain clay-based pigments can reduce sun exposure and discourage insects when applied to the skin. Mixed with animal fat, ochre forms a protective coating that lasts for hours. The first body paint may have functioned partly as prehistoric sunscreen. It also offered another advantage. Hunting often required getting close to wary animals. Bright human skin reflected sunlight and stood out against forests and grasslands. Dark pigments, ash, or mud could reduce visibility, helping hunters blend into their surroundings. Long before camouflage uniforms, people were already disguising themselves. Yet practical explanations only tell part of the story. If protection from the sun were the only goal, any mud would do. Instead, ancient communities repeatedly chose specific colors, prepared them carefully, and applied them in deliberate patterns. That suggests symbolism. Red became especially significant across many ancient cultures. It resembles blood, one of the most powerful substances humans encounter. Blood means birth, injury, hunting, sacrifice, survival, and death. Covering the body in red may have represented life itself, strength, courage, fertility, or transformation. Exactly what it meant varied from culture to culture. Its emotional power did not. As human societies became more complex, body painting evolved into a form of identity. Imagine approaching another group across an open plain. Without speaking, colors and patterns could immediately communicate who someone was. Friend or stranger, hunter or healer, adult or child, married or unmarried, member of this tribe or another. The body became a living message. Unlike permanent tattoos, paint offered flexibility. A person could wear one design during a hunt, another during a ceremony, and a completely different pattern while mourning the death of a family member. Identity wasn't fixed forever. It changed with the moment. Ceremonies gave body painting even greater importance. Across continents, archaeological evidence and surviving indigenous traditions suggest pigments often accompanied major life events. Reaching adulthood, preparing for marriage, celebrating successful hunts, welcoming new children, mourning loved ones, or asking for rain could all involve painting the body. The act itself mattered as much as the finished design. Preparing pigments required grinding minerals, collecting charcoal, mixing binders, and applying intricate patterns. These rituals brought communities together long before written prayers or formal religious institutions existed. Body painting transformed ordinary moments into sacred ones. Children probably learned these traditions by watching older generations. A parent painting a child's face before an important ceremony wasn't simply adding color. They were passing on culture. Every line carried memory. Every pattern preserved tradition. Over thousands of years, these visual customs helped communities maintain their identity even without writing. Some pigments came from surprisingly distant places. Archaeologists have discovered minerals transported hundreds of kilometers from their natural sources. Such discoveries suggest body paint sometimes held enough value to become part of long-distance trade networks. Color itself became a resource. Certain shades may have been reserved for respected leaders, skilled hunters, or spiritual figures. Not everyone necessarily wore the same designs. Body painting also played an important role in warfare. Standing before an enemy covered in bold colors creates a powerful psychological effect. Patterns can exaggerate facial expressions, make the body appear larger, or project confidence before a fight even begins. Modern militaries still use camouflage paint. Ancient warriors simply adapted the same principle for different purposes. But paint wasn't always intended to frighten others. Sometimes it strengthened the person wearing it. Modern psychology shows that clothing influences confidence and behavior. Researchers call this enclothed cognition. Body paint may have worked similarly. Preparing for a dangerous hunt while wearing ceremonial markings could reinforce courage, focus, and unity within the group. The color wasn't magical. The belief behind it was powerful. Interestingly, paint also connected humans with the natural world. Many pigments came directly from earth, ash, plants, or minerals. Covering the body with these materials symbolically linked people to the landscapes that sustained them. In some traditions, wearing the earth literally meant becoming part of it. This relationship appears repeatedly throughout human history. When archaeologists uncover ancient burials, they often find bodies covered with red ochre. The practice appears across Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia over tens of thousands of years. Why place pigment on someone who has died? No one knows with certainty. Some researchers believe it represented rebirth, others think it honored the deceased or prepared them for another existence. Whatever the explanation, it reveals that body painting reached beyond daily life into humanity's deepest spiritual questions. Even the process of making pigment required impressive skill. Not every red stone creates useful paint. Ancient people learned which minerals produced lasting color, how finely they needed to be ground, and which natural substances helped them adhere to skin. Animal fat, plant oils, water, eggs. Different mixtures produce different results. This wasn't random experimentation. It was accumulated knowledge refined across generations. Some caves preserve what appear to be ancient workshops where pigments were mixed, stored, and prepared. Grinding stones stained red after thousands of years still bear witness to countless hands performing the same careful task. Those tools remind us that body painting wasn't occasional. For many communities, it became part of everyday life. Perhaps the greatest misconception is assuming these markings were primitive because they weren't permanent. In reality, their temporary nature made them more meaningful. A design created for one ceremony disappeared afterward. A mourning pattern faded as grief slowly eased. A hunter's markings washed away when the hunt ended. The body became a canvas, constantly changing with life's experiences. In many ways, it reflected the rhythms of nature itself. Modern society often separates appearance from identity. Ancient humans rarely did. What they placed on their bodies expressed relationships, responsibilities, beliefs, achievements, and emotions. Paint wasn't merely cosmetic, it carried meaning. Perhaps that's why humans continue decorating themselves today. Cosmetics, sports face paint, ceremonial makeup, military camouflage, theatrical makeup, festival colors, and cultural traditions all echo practices that began tens of thousands of years ago. The materials have changed. The instinct has not. Long before alphabets recorded history, the human body became one of its first storytellers. Every streak of ochre, every line of charcoal, and every carefully painted symbol declared something words alone could never fully express. Ancient humans didn't paint their bodies because they had nothing better to do. They painted them because they had something important to say. And for thousands of years, before ink filled books or letters carved themselves into stone, color became one of humanity's oldest and most powerful forms of communication.